Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Mini trucks are back? Kind of. So, if you didn't know, Toyota just said by 2028 they are planning on launching a small pickup truck. Now, to those that have a brain that goes back farther than 2020, Toyota did that for a very long time in America. They used to sell this thing called the Tacoma. Yes, and it was not large. It wasn't a gigantic pickup truck. It was a mini truck. It was smaller than a current Maverick. It was a mini truck. It was 4-cylinder. They weren't big. But now they've come full circle. They did the Tundra thing, you know, they were like, Americans want a bigger truck. Sure. They realized Americans do want a Tacoma, but they want it to be bigger. So the Tacoma eventually, it got Americanized, if you will. It started eating more McDonald's. It started to not watch its weight quite as much, maybe not exercise as much as it should have, and it got bigger. So Toyota broke out the Ozempic, and they said, we're shooting this thing up, we're getting it lean, and we're going to make a mini truck. And that's what they did. Well, not truly yet, but that's what they plan to do. Whether they're just floating the idea out to see how it sticks, we don't know. But it just got me reeling about the current truck market. Now, historically, in America, over the last 20-something years, trucks have gotten very large. That's a lot due to EPA stuff, CAFE standard stuff, American buying habits stuff that can't be overlooked. You know, you can point out the government all you want, but a lot of it is literally just what do people want to buy? And they want a lot of horsepower and a lot of torque in a heavy vehicle, which also, again, is forced by the EPA. How heavy a truck has to be to be so bad on gas, so kind of forced them into this spot where they built these gigantic, I mean, I think my truck makes like 800 foot-pounds of torque or something, 700 foot-pounds of torque truck that weighs 8,000 or 9,000 pounds last time I weighed it. Pushed you into this realm. But the current truck market, led by places like companies like Ford with the Maverick, they've showed that there is room for more mini trucks. Now, we would be, you know, we have to mention the historical past of that. Sorry, Honda. Honda has been in this game for quite a long time. They've had the, what's it called? The Honda, drawing a blank, I lost it. The Ridgeline. I knew it. I didn't even find it on my sheet of paper. The Ridgeline. They've had that for quite a long time, and it was the OG, that's not a truck. Like, people that you know with it, you would always hit them with the, that's not really a truck. It's like, yeah, okay, maybe it's a unibody, so unibody doesn't really make it a truck. It's more of it's a body on frame that makes it a truck. If you can lift the body and the frame stays, that's a truck to me. But the Ridgeline is the OG small, good on gas, like around town pickup truck that the American market got. We didn't get utes like in, you know, Australia. It's not two utes. We haven't had mini trucks in years. I mean, our Rangers are very large comparatively. Like, they're bigger than all the cars, you know, like that. A mini truck should be car sized, in my opinion. So Ranger doesn't fit. Colorado obviously doesn't fit. Tacoma, the Nissan Frontier doesn't fit. None of those really fit a mini truck, besides like an older Tacoma or like a hard body Nissan, but we haven't had those again in years of that size. So, as America does, we've come full circle. We are back to mini trucks. And is the American public ready for a mini truck war? I don't know. I genuinely don't. Now, there's probably room in the market for a couple, or like one or two. Obviously, the Maverick is a great one. It's clearly shown that there's a market for this. The Slate is coming out to attempt to interject themselves into there with a two-wheel drive under $30,000 mystery machine that no one knows how good it is, because obviously they've never shown how good they are because nobody's ever owned one. Ford also announced that they're doing another EV mini truck. Then there's obviously other trucks like the Tesla, but that's not a mini truck. That's not that under $30,000 like we're talking about. The Rivian, nowhere near under $30,000. We're really talking about a mini truck battle under $30,000. And that's where I think these brands think that the market is going. They think that we're coming to a head of like, this is what the American public's gonna want. The Santa Cruz was a hit, but it missed the mark. It was supposed to get young surfing guys, and it got 60-year-old men with Shih Tzus that take them for walks on the beach and put a potted plant in the back. Like what they visioned, I feel, was different than what they got, but maybe that's what they wanted because 50-year-old closeted gay men actually really want that car and have the money to buy it, but young surfer guys in California don't have money to go buy a Santa Cruz, nor did it really fit what they wanted because it's a Hyundai Santa Cruz. Sorry to attack the gay closeted men with Shih Tzus, but, somebody had to do it. The Subaru Baja, to talk about sexuality again, really had this figured out in the early 2000s. It was under $30,000, like $25,000, brand new MSRP. Of course, that was 2006. You get it turbo. It was all-wheel drive. It was a little lifted. It had the look to it. It was a car-sized. It got good gas mileage. Like, that thing hit every box besides it was for people that went box to box, scissoring, lesbians. We all know that. Unfortunately, that era of Subaru could not shake that, and I think that hurt some of its sales, and that's why there's only a couple thousand, like 2,000 turbo models in the world right now, and that's why they're so sought after, because they were great. They fit the stereotype, though, unfortunately. But is America going towards this? Because are we going to end up with two worlds here, where the middle of the pack starts to disappear? And I've talked about this before, where the middle of the pack of like trucks, say it's your F-150, that is going to go away, and you're going to have Rangers or Mavericks. And I think even the Ranger might go away for their EV. I think they're going to split this more, where, yes, F-150 is the best-selling vehicle of all time, basically, at least in the U.S., but past sales don't equal future sales. So will there be a parting of the sea, in a way, of high-end, big vehicles, a lot of horsepower, and low-end, entry-level, $30,000 mini trucks? Because, as you guys may know, middle of the pack, $60,000 buyers are starting to dry up a little bit. $80,000 buyers, $90,000 buyers are still there, and there's a lot of them. But the $60,000 buyers are trying to become $30,000 buyers, and the $60,000 buyers became $90,000 buyers. The middle class of car buying seems to be parting and drying up a little bit. So these brands, they're blindly throwing a dart at a dartboard, hoping that what they hit by 2028 will be what the market wants. Will it be a Toyota unibody truck that has the suspension of a Toyota Camry? That is yet to be known. It's hard to say whether that's going to be where the market's at. Will it be EV trucks like the Slate that are two-wheel drive and modular like Legos, to where if you have a screwdriver and you walk up on a Slate, you can steal anything off of it that you want? Maybe that's where we're going to go. Like, oh, I got my screwdriver, I got a flathead here. My Slate doesn't have the wide body fenders, but there's one that parks like a couple blocks down that does. I'll just go take the fenders off of it. It's just a screwdriver. That's a lot of how the Slate's going to work. in my opinion, especially because a $30,000 car is probably street parked, and they're budget friendly, so they're going to be, parked at apartment buildings and stuff like that. So hard to really keep hidden. Hard to really keep everything locked down. But the real question is that where we're going to? Do Americans really want crossovers that are just pickup truck beds? Now, in Mexico, if you didn't know, Chevy already sells this. They sell a Chevy Trax, basically, where instead of where like a third row could potentially go, or like groceries, they just cut it and they put a small bed that could hold basically like 2 packs of bubble gum. That was kind of their thought, was like, these beds don't have to be big, it just needs to look like a truck, because Americans still want this truck street cred. I'm still trying to figure out what buyers they are going for. Obviously, Dodge is going to have to get involved, and I imagine if Dodge does anything, it's going to be a cut Pacifica, like a Chrysler Pacifica with a Dodge badge on the front, and they're going to say, this is our, what would they call it, the Dakota? This is our Dakota now. It is a front-wheel drive Pacifica that we cut. I'm in. Make it happen, Dodge. Need to gather my thoughts. Now, Australians are going to come and say, those are utes, mate. Listen, mate, those are utes. You Americans don't understand. Us Australians already figured out. Listen, Australians. You don't get to make the nomenclature that we use for this stuff. You guys are 2% of the English-speaking population in the entire world. Your population is smaller than the state of Texas. It wouldn't even be the top 2 biggest states if you guys were all in the U.S. You don't get to make up the wording. You don't even have an automaker. You guys don't get to decide this stuff. So they are not utes. It is not a tray on the back of a truck. That is a flatbed. It is a bed of a truck. It is not a tub. I'll just lay it all out there. You're 2%, under 2% of the English-speaking population. You do not get the weight in this topic like you think you do. There you go. Sorry. Had to lay it all down for you, but, the truth hurts. But that's kind of where I'm ending off. Is that the market? Is that the world we're going to? Are we just going to see more and more and more mini trucks that are like a half-assed disappointment of a mini truck? Like, they're not the hard bodies. They're not the old Tacomas. They're like this car that was repurposed to be a mini truck. Some of them are kind of like that. The Maverick is cool, the Lobo. That is a cool one. The Ridgeline obviously doesn't get the respect that it deserves, but post facelift, when they went from the boxy Ridgeline to the current one, I think was a huge blunder by Honda, and I think that's why Nissan didn't want to be sold to them, because they saw what they did to the Ridgeline, and they wanted no part of that. They knew their Frontier would have turned into a Ultimate with a bed, so they were like, maybe we should stay away from this. But are we cool with unibody trucks? Or do people just not do truck things where they need this? The Ranger, the Colorado, they still exist. The Tacoma still exists in, I don't know, what's a base Tacoma now, like 30 grand, 40 grand? So would you just get a Tacoma that has no features, or a Toyota Camry truck that has all the features? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. The parting of the car industry is what I see. And I think that's seeing what the auto manufacturers are looking towards gives you a good idea of what is happening in the market. That's how I see it. Trying to put yourself in their shoes and see what they see, and to see what they think is coming, is how we is how we understand this market and industry and what it's going to look like in the next 10 years. But that is something that we're seeing. The mini truck epidemic is back, and the Hyundai Santa Fe led the charge. Congrats, Hyundai, you have won.